At the end of the 2021 season, Matt Carpenter was out of a job, coming off a horrendous stretch of years to end his stay in St. Louis. With no other options, Carpenter called Joey Votto, noted TikTok influencer, for some advice. When Votto believed Carpenter still had something left in the tank, Carpenter began his legendary trek around the country, knowing he had some work to do to save his career. First stop, Louisiana. In Baton Rouge, there's a baseball performance lab supported by Marucci, one of the best data-driven sports labs in the country. After measuring lower body, upper body, and core strength, Carpenter still performed above major league average, but his swing was all messed up. His first change was to get a slightly heavier bat, with more weight in the barrel, as the Marucci bat evaluation showed his old David Wright bat wasn't right for him. In terms of his swing, Marucci gave him data about what wasn't working. Armed with this knowledge, Carpenter set off across the country as fast as he could for California. With some support from his former teammates, Carpenter visited Tim Laker, a veteran hitting coach in Santa Clarita, and Craig Wallenbrock, a legend in the industry, having changed the careers of JD Martinez, Michael Young, and Ryan Braun, just to name a few. When Laker studied his heat zones, Carpenter realized he had actually become quite weak on the inner half, causing him to roll over into the shift. Laker realized that Carpenter's bat path was both too long to the ball and too short through the zone, a recipe for failure. A problem that had a bit to do with his hips. Over 2 days, standing on halves of Bosu balls, throwing frisbees, etc., Carpenter worked on initiating drive with his hip, getting balanced with his front leg, lengthening his swing through the zone, and keeping his bat behind the ball, addressing some of the issues that the Marucci lab data had highlighted for him. Yet, Carpenter still felt he needed more help, so he embarked once again across the country. With the support of another former teammate, Carpenter traveled to Stillwater, Oklahoma, to train alongside Oklahoma State and Matt Hollanday, one of his former Cardinal teammates. There, while the college players received the benefits of working with an active pro, Carpenter and Hollanday finally worked out the issues with Carpenter's hips. The same issues that Laker had showed he had and the lab had told him he had. Come March, Carpenter signed to play with the Round Rock Express, the AAA affiliate of the Rangers. Yet, being a non-roster invitee, Matt Carpenter barely played in spring training and started the season in the minor leagues. On April 10th, he told his agent he was going to catch fire, like something was about to click for him. He was right. Texas, with an upcoming mandate, would soon have to call someone up. Carpenter called the Rangers GM Chris Young, asking if it was about to be him. The GM told him, no. Carpenter asked for a release, realizing he didn't want to keep waiting for an opportunity to come. And just like that, the career of Matt Carpenter, despite all his travels, all of his journey, was over. And then the Yankees called. As soon as Carpenter got there, he told Aaron Boone he was ready to start unloading bags from the plane if the team needed him to help with anything. Knowing this was his last shot, Matt Carpenter was ready to do anything. The league wasn't. In his first 30 games, Carpenter would smack 13 home runs, with a ridiculous .933 slugging percentage and a 1400 OPS, culminating in a 293 OPS plus, 3 times as good as the average hitter. He's literally playing MLB The Show on rookie difficulty, except in the major leagues. When July hit, Carpenter showed he was ready to do anything for the team once again, playing the outfield for the first time in 10 years for a Yankee squad that desperately needed outfield depth, with struggles from Aaron Hicks and Joey Gallo. Looking at Heat zones, it's clear that Carpenter has regained some control of the strike zone, one of the issues that Votto had pointed out in their call almost 8 months ago. One value tries to estimate how many runs above average a hitter is producing based on their outcomes. In the 4 different areas of the plate, Carpenter has always been great outside the zone, yet this year specifically, he has performed much better than in the past inside the strike zone. So, how did he do it? For one, Matt Carpenter has a ridiculously low rate of getting on top of the ball. Instead, what he does is he elevates, pulling the ball more than ever, having a ridiculous 58% pull rate, removing plenty of his hits to the middle and to the opposite field. For one, with an average exit velo of 92.2 miles per hour, which is a top 10 rate in the league for people who have had more than 50 balls in play, and an average launch angle of 25.3 degrees, he's crushing the ball in a very optimal way. So while someone like Joey Gallo is struggling slamming it right into the shift, Carpenter is doing a better job of elevating, essentially just hitting it over the shift when his launch angle is lower, and depositing it over the right field fence when his launch angle is higher. So while the shift haunts many pull-heavy batters, especially lefties, Carpenter has found a way to avoid the shift by in fact just pulling the ball even more, something quite counterintuitive. But by committing himself to drastically change, journeying across America to find answers, and believing in what the modern analytics tell him to do, Matt Carpenter managed to revive his career. Now, every day, Matt Carpenter, still willing to unload those bags from the plane, looks forward to taking batting practice and taking ground balls, knowing fully well how close he was to never doing those again. A reminder to us all to not take things for granted, because you never know when it could come to an end. 2 articles kind of inspired me to make this video, one by Sports Illustrated and one by The Athletic. I'll link those both down in the description. They detail a lot about what happened with Matt Carpenter. Most of my music is also from Pixabay, so you guys can check that out too. And catch you next time.